A couple of months ago, Kash Patel, who is President Trump's pick to lead the FBI, was up for confirmation hearings. And at the D.C. Bureau of Mother Jones, my colleague Dan Friedman and I started looking at some of his background material that he had to submit. This included a financial disclosure form in which, like all top-level appointees, he has to list all the sources of income he had the previous year. On this document was an item for $25,000. No explanation, didn't know what it was. Well, we started doing some digging. We found out that it was a film company that had produced a 6-part documentary series on how Donald Trump was supposedly persecuted by the deep state.
We're proud at TCN to announce the rollout of a new 6-part documentary series called All the President's Men.
And that one of those 6 episodes focused on Kash Patel and that he was even an executive producer. And for all that, he got $25,000.
I'm going to tell you to shut down the FBI headquarters building and open it up as a museum of the deep state the next day.
We dug a little bit further, and we found that Global Tree was owned, run, managed by a fellow named Igor Lopatonok. He had made essentially pro-Putin documentaries in the past. So we looked a little bit further, and we found that he was also part of a Russian propaganda project. It was a public project to convince people that Russia was a great place to live and that Westerners should give up on the West and move to Russia. Interesting thing, that project, according to Russian records, that project was financed in part by funds from Putin's own presidential office. So here we have a Ukrainian-American-Russian filmmaker who has worked with a Russian propaganda outfit that was financed in part by Vladimir Putin's office, paying Kash Patel, the future FBI director, $25,000. When we were doing the story, of course, we reached out to Kash Patel. He wouldn't answer any questions. We also reached out to Igor Lopatonok. Never heard back. So, when I was doing research, I discovered that he lived in Los Angeles. So I decided I'm just going to knock on the door and see if he would tell me where the money came from that he used to pay Kash Patel. I am walking on the sidewalk now. I'm going to walk up to his front door and see if he's home. I walked up to the door. I rang the doorbell, knocked on the door. He came to the door, opened it up, and I'd seen photos of him, so I knew that this was the fellow. So here's what happened when I went up to the door. I knocked, and he opened the door, and I identified myself, and I said, I did a story about you recently, and I was trying to reach you. Where'd the money come from that you used to pay Kash Patel $25,000? He's the FBI director now. I think the American public has a right to know. He was aggressive from the get-go. And I said, I explained, I just want to know why and how, where the money came from this payment to Kash Patel. He said, you have no right to ask me these questions. I have the right to ask. If you don't want to answer the question, you don't have to. He said he never took any money. He never got any money himself from Putin. And then he started getting a little bit nastier. He said, you are a disgusting person. You're working for the deep state. Unfortunately, I never got an answer to this basic question. Now, of course, it'd be nice if Kash Patel could tell us, but he doesn't seem interested in answering this question either. So we have an FBI director who received $25,000 for appearing in a film, executive producing a film, made by an Ukrainian-American Russian who worked on a propaganda project that was financed in part by Vladimir Putin's office. Why this isn't a bigger story, I don't know, but we've tried to get to the bottom of it. You can read all about this at motherjones.com.